Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's our chess show on IBM Pod TV. My name is Sasha Starr, and we have two special guests for today. It's Professor Ken Regan. Hello, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on, and notice the different background.
Yes, very different, and we are going to talk to that in a second. And also, I would like to introduce, after a long pause, Jim Ida from Ida Chess Foundation. Welcome to the show. How are you today, Jim?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's great to see you again, Sasha.
Okay, excellent. Now, Ken, you're broadcasting from, I believe.
Yes, so Jim and I are both at places abbreviated CA, but
Okay.
he's in California and I'm in Canada. I'm in Hamilton,
Mhm.
Ontario, on the site of the Canadian Open, where the 8th round is just finishing.
Okay, excellent. So we can see, is it a tournament hall or is it a
This
Skittles
is the
room?
Skittles room outside the main tournament hall, which is a gym, but I have permission to take you inside. There is one top level game still going on. Uh, and I could show you that on the live, on the broadcast board first, if I can share my
Okay,
screen. Okay, so let me
let's
do
see.
that. And
Yeah.
then and I said I have permission to go inside the tournament hall, but
Mhm.
as you see, I will be at a distance even longer than one of Putin's long tables. So it'll be okay, even though I'm bringing in my laptop. So I think now you can see my screen, and
Mhm.
that's the list of live games and the pairings. So this, I think, is the game on board 6 between Grandmaster Luis Manuel Perez Rodriguez and International Master Jason Leong. And Black is pressing in an endgame with even material. But Black has 2 bishops. However, White's knight actually looks like a decent piece. And the question is, where can Black come in? Now, this isn't being broadcast with an engine, so I can't simply tell you, does the engine see in 20 moves a way to come in? But I would say not. I would bet on White holding this with my international master sense of the
Okay, okay, fair enough. So right now, there's another very interesting game is going on between Levon Aronian with white pieces
Yes,
against
and
Wei
it just
Yi.
ended in a draw by
Oh,
perpetual
mhm.
check.
Yeah.
So let's actually show this. I can let me just make the game a little bigger on my screen. Um, and I hope the noise of the Skittles room is more
No, no,
welcome.
no, it's okay. We can hear you clearly.
Yep. Okay. So let me take this back to the beginning, and because there is one fantastic tactic. Uh-oh.
Hmm.
Oh, there we go. Okay, the screen refresh took a little while. Okay, so this was the third game. Their series is now tied after 3 games, so there will be a fourth, possibly decisive game in the first of 2 mini matches, and we see an English opening that could possibly become a Catalan if White plays D4, or but White plays B3 instead. Um, okay, so. Um, you know, Fairly normal play. I don't know where this game leaves Book, but an interesting series of tactics in the early middle game initiated by the Black side. And it's a bit surprising that Black is able to do this.
And I have a strange feeling that instead of playing D3, White could equalize this by playing D4.
Yes, well, equalizes. Yes, so it's again. I don't have my. Oh, well, actually, the engine does show in this window, and now with D4, it actually shows Black as having a tiny advantage already. So
Hmm.
it's interesting that Black already has Sente, as you would say in the game of Go. So initiative to play this move, and there's a temporary sacrifice at the heart of it. So what is White thinking here? Well, White's thinking now I've got 3 pieces attacking D4, and I've got pressure on E5, so it'll be hard for Black to defend. Where Rook D7 is a good defense, but okay, here comes the pressure on E5. We divert the attacker. Now we've got 3 pieces attacking D4, and there's only one defender, so it looks like D4 is going to fall. But wait a second, Black defends it, and now launches a counterattack that the engine already sees liking for Black. So the counterattack involves a pin along the C line. So a knight sacrifice. And then coming here, now black has 3 attackers on d4 and white is only 2 defenders. Well, white brings up a 3rd defender. Here we go.
Oh,
And why not e5 in this position?
yeah.
For black, e5. Yeah, e5 looks strong right away. In fact, rook e8, the move played in the game, is shown as being stronger, but e5 certainly gives black an advantage. However, we'll see that black pretty much gets the effect of playing e5 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's right. So e5 is a very natural move to make. But black plays rook e8, which computer thinks is the best move. White ducks away. So now black captures on d4. Pawns are even, but now black is still attacking in the center with e5. And now black plays a centralizing move and threatening some positions to come in on the queen side. And now white has an amazing defensive move here. Let's see how the computer ranks the alternatives to it. Yeah, so any alternative to white's move, and the computer thinks black is winning already because black will now gang up on d3. And let's see, so white captures on e4, then I guess queen takes e4. Is that really ruinous? Actually, one thing secret about chess 24 is you can play ahead. So you can play and the engine will still work, and the engine immediately says that black would be winning. Oh, with the very cool rook d8. So
Yeah.
the
I
essence
wasn't thinking
here
that. Right.
is that white cannot defend all these squares along the d file. Certainly can't play a rook to d1. I guess rook e2 is the only move, but then rook d3 for one thing, and then black probably can come in on c3
Yeah.
with a diagonal. So yeah, so this must be pretty ruinous for white. So it turns out that white has an amazing resource in the position, the move that Aronian played.
Queen f4.
Queen f4. And
Amazing.
the first reaction is, oh, this is hanging the queen to discovered check with d takes e3 check. But there's also a tactic along the e file with checkmate. Right. So it turns out that d takes e3 is not the best move to preserve black's advantage. And it's interesting that black's advantage soon dissipated. So the engine thinks that best is just to trade queens and push e3, but I often find those hard to calculate, whether the pawn is strong or is going to get surrounded on e3. That's one of those things where you really need training to calculate. The engine thinks rook d3 is okay too, but
I don't like this move.
You don't like this move, okay?
No.
So, I mean, it looks like it's preserving tactics, but the problem is that so for instance, something you have to calculate is if white captures on e4, you capture with the rook, you capture with the rook again, and if white plays queen b8 check, it looks like a back rank mate, but rook e8 will be checked. Okay, so that doesn't work.
Rook d1 is a very simple move here.
Yeah.
Rook a d1.
Yeah, rook a d1, just defending. Now, here's an instructive point. The best move for black, it's h6. Actually, now it's saying that most of the advantage is gone, but I thought the black still had a fairly substantial.
No, queen g6 was not the best.
Just making luft. But instead of making luft, Wei tried to cash in. But now this is the situation that I just talked about.
Right.
You're a pawn ahead. It's an advanced pawn, and if you're not going to checkmate white's king, then chances are your pawn is going to drop off, and you still haven't made luft. So the fact that you haven't made luft
that's cute.
allows white to play a shocking move like this.
Yes.
And now your d pawn really is going well. Actually, except that the engine now. Okay, so there's something wrong with my narrative here, and the narrative is that black can play queen g5, but anything else and slight advantage to white. Okay, so black played queen g5. Or now white plays h4. Now the queen goes here, check.
Oh.
Okay, and let's see, queen d2 check. Still showing a strong edge for black. But now this game became perpetual check, and indeed they play like this for a little bit. And now black played rook c8, which, however, was not the best way to prosecute the attack. So what does our injured friend find? Our injured friend says, oh, so there's one really strange move.
One check.
C1 check to deflect white's rook. That's a nice tactic.
That's it. That's interesting. That at least gives black an edge.
Yeah, because white just plays king h4. And then where's your edge after that? You really have an edge after that? Obviously, you can't go king b4 because the rook would fall with check. But you play king a4, and now what does black have?
That's good.
Right. Oh, no. Okay, so it says that, wait a second, what's going on?
Look too soon.
b5 check. Wow, okay, so wait. So, all right, so that's b5 check works. Oh, because you can't take with the pawn because rook takes queen would be check. And if you take with the king,
rook b8 check.
Rook b8 check, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's, and then the queen is the c. Rook b8 check, king over, and then you just take on e1. Yes, okay. All right, so let's see. So white's move to stay in the game is what then? I guess, let's see. Okay, wait, rook c8 is the move that black played. So after queen c1 check. So how does white stay in the game? Wow, this is stumping me. Oh, yeah. Just take it. I see. Just take it and play the end game.
Yeah, right. But that's where black retains an advantage, but maybe not because that pawn is doomed.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe black wins one pawn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just take it. Okay, so that would have been a fun move. The computer actually wanted black here, however, though, to play a different move besides queen d2. Wanted black. Oh, no, do you know what? This is a computer infinite loop. So the computer wants black to repeat moves. This sometimes happens because of hash tables. So what the computer is saying, though, is that the move that the computer wants black to play is that this would keep the game going. And sure, you still have to calculate, the fact that there are no background mate threats. But okay, so b5, I guess that's certainly a logical move. So missed in the time pressure. Anyway, so black did none of this. So Wei Yi played rook c8. Oh, no. Let's see.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Let's scroll through the game again. Queen b2 check again, and then rook c8, and now so rook e3. Okay, so this was a blunder. When white could have played, actually, I should really be looking at the board here. What do you play? Because this is a very hard position to play in rapid chess. So rook e5 is given as the only way to hold, but my goodness, what does rook e5 do? I guess it threatens rook g5. Oh, it guards a5. Wow. I think there's really no way in a fast chess to see these tactics. Anyway, so black repeated moves.
Just to gain time.
Yep. So this is allegedly the killer. So now b5 check, right? Okay, but that's not what black did. Okay, now I've seen enough of this game to know that b5 has to be the move. So, and actually, no, it's not the move. So the computer actually wants black to play queen d2 with tempo. Look at this.
Huh. Oh, queen, because the mate threat is tempo.
Because that's a mate threat. And what if white plays king a3 then? What aren't we just repeating moves? Now what?
Yeah, queen c1.
Now queen a5 check king b2. No, this is another computer infinite loop. Though involving the b4 move. It says queen c1 check, king a4, but the king just came from there. However, the resolution of the loop is the fact that b5 is apparently truly a winning move for black. So one of the things going on is that the version of Stockfish here is having issues with its hash tables and not being able to recognize the transpositions, or maybe it's not set to show 0-0 on first repetition. So anyway, But this, however, this is a winning attack now.
Yeah, it does look strong.
Yeah, it's quite interesting game. So we have a very interesting online tournament. We have just finished a candidates tournament, which we discussed a few times.
Yep.
Jim, I would like to know your opinion on candidates tournament. What's your impressions?
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Sasha. I think it's very interesting to me. Like the Grand Swiss and the ways that they qualified for it, for to get into the candidates, and they had a rating seed and
Mhm.
a wild card, and so some people could take objection to something, but I think it's as fair as any kind of process that you would. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the interzonals and candidates matches where no one.
What do you think is wrong with interzonals?
Well, I think they were wonderful, except for
Problem.
the organizational costs. Were when they were just paid in rubles, it was one thing, but nowadays the cost of the players' time to be in those events has gone way up.
Why not? They can pay in bitcoins and they still save some money.
Well, you can get creative, and there may be a way to get players interested in investing their time. But we have this phenomenon like Nakamura making so much money that's not tournament related. And so the interzonals were the only way to get in, and but the tournament organizer didn't have to pay as much as the tournament organizer today has to pay to put these games, and then the candidates matches after them, and so the strain of the organization of those events is one mitigating factor, and
Whoops. Uh-oh.
doing it this way seems to have been a way of dealing with the cost of running these types of tournaments.
Show.
And so I think it's a very interesting way of selecting who belongs, and I don't think we have too many complaints. The people that qualified, they won very strong tournaments, or they finished second in very, very strong tournaments. So they all kind of played their way in, which is what, as a chess fan, all I can ask. Did they show their stuff? Is that, and they only limited it to one player based on rating, which I think is pretty fair. And the loser of the last World Championship match was seeded in. Some people object to that, but it seems rational to me because he's got to lose again to become the challenger. And he did, decisively so, without a loss, without a single loss, in a very strong tournament. So I think it worked pretty well in terms of selecting who should be the next challenger, which is, we want some kind of fair method of determining the challenger. And I was pretty pleased that dominating an event like that, who can say he doesn't deserve another chance at the World Championship?
Jim, a couple
Yeah.
of things. I feel that after a few rounds, specifically at the beginning of the first round, there are a few players, let's see, half of the players already losing any chances to succeed, and all they do, they just continue to play to get their prize money and so on. So they're not motivated whatsoever. But they affect the games of people who are still in the running. So this is already discriminates against people who's done not so well, against people who are still fighting for a first or second place and so on, and they still have a huge impact of the outcome of the tournament. Now, this concerning your first point, okay, to organize all this World Cup and all the other tournament and what else, what the names for, they also require a lot of efforts and financing abilities to organize. And I don't think they're much greater than interzonal tournaments. And number two is that, remember, and Ken, maybe you can confirm what's your opinion. The rating and strength of the players fluctuates. It's not constant all the times on certain level. Their level of play going sometimes a little bit lower, then it goes a little bit higher, or so on. That's a normal thing. So
Yeah.
if the qualifying process is taking a year or a year and a half, and some people may be in a very good form at the beginning of that process, and then they're losing their strength and their rating, and they're not qualified. So if you would have, let's see, in a matter of say 4 months, maximum 6 months, you would have interzonal tournament, candidate tournament, and world championship match, all that stressed in the very short period of time, maximum 6 months, 4 months probably would do better. So then you would definitely get the most potent players to qualify by rating, by their strength, by their form at that any given time, and you would have a valid championship match or so on. But maybe it's too little, too late. Maybe Carlson already made his mind not to play much anyway. So then our discussion doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Yes. Well, you're touching on areas that are very difficult in my work, where I can get much better regularity with large numbers of people than I can with an individual player. So my work, my use of ratings basically is error bars plus or minus 25,
Hmm.
which means take someone like Hikaru Nakamura. Now, I thought he was really underrated at 2736, which was his frozen rating while he was inactive. But he's probably really maybe not quite 2800, but let's say 2386.
Hmm.
Well, that's plus or minus 25 from 2761, which was about his rating in the candidates tournament. So if I think he's really 2761, then I'm within my error bar tolerance of 2736 and 2786. So
Hmm.
it does not make a difference in the large scale for my work. Now, the later question is, though, is those differences of 50 rating points do matter competitively. Over a 14 round tournament, that's more than half a point of expectation. So probably close to a full point of expectation. Now, the next question becomes what makes a 2775 player different from a 2725 player? And it could be a matter of what you had for breakfast. Like, so I thought, when I was playing in tournaments, I always tried to eat a higher quality lunch because I believed it did make a difference for my game, even if it meant spending extra money.
Yeah, that's
Back when
right.
I was an impoverished kid. Uh, but so does having Wheaties for breakfast add 25 elo? It's a very difficult question to analyze because everything's within the error bars.
I
But
would recommend caprese salad.
what?
Caprese salad, I would recommend.
Well, sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said.
Caprese salad, you know caprese?
A type of salad.
It's Italian.
Yeah,
It's tomatoes with sort of
yeah.
not
What I've
cream
been
cheese.
finding, by the way, is that when I move around I get away from the internet access point here. That's why you may have
Oh,
noticed things coming in and out.
I
Um,
see.
but I
But
will.
Sasha, what when you talk about the interzonals, we called these today we're calling them the World Cup or Grand Swiss or whatever names we play. Aren't they pretty similar in that they're taking the best players and letting them choose who gets to qualify? At least,
But this has more opportunities, however, requiring you to finish first, not a tie break for fifth and sixth, as the old system used to do.
No, interzonal. When they had three interzonal in later years, only two winners would qualify to the next round. So it was six players, and it would be seventh player, whoever lost the championship match, and the whoever player was second in the previous candidates tournament, or loser of the final match if it was matches. at the time. So this time, remember, for example, when Spassky qualified second time for a match with Petrosian, so he or Petrosian, who was a loser of the match, they would qualify for the next
Right.
the candidates. And so it was Korchnoi who lost final match to Spassky. So he would be qualified, and then 6 winners of 3 interzonal tournaments.
That certainly was an ideal way, or close
I
to
think that was by far ideal way. It was very easily to understood who qualifies, why qualifies, and so on, and there would be no really any fights about whether it's fair or it's not fair. And as long as you keep that system unchanged for a period of time, I think it could be. Okay, enough of this. We'll see. I think FIDE gave ultimatum to Carlson to reply by 20th of July, whether he's going to do much or not. You heard about it, Jim?
Yes, and I have a fairly strong feeling about this, in that we saw what happened when when we had a world champion break away from FIDE, and the FIDE matches that were conducted after that weren't really considered to be a world championship match.
No.
And so it was obviously the best player in the world was playing whatever he was playing. That was the whether it was official or not, that was for the world championship, because you don't win the world championship unless you beat the world champion, unless they retire. And so is Magnus going to retire, or is he going to continue to play matches? Is he going to follow the world champion? And so I think FIDE needs to show a little bit of initiative in getting Magnus to play, because it's
And
so valuable.
it's not done by ultimatums.
Yes, I don't think that that's the way to go. I think that's what bit them in the past. And hopefully they've learned. And ask Magnus, what is it that you want to make you play? And then negotiate, just like grown-ups do, and come to some sort of agreement where we, as chess fans, get to see a great, the best player of the world be challenged for his championship. And if he loses, then the next person is the legitimate champion. There's no controversy.
Well, it all comes from the it seems to me it all comes from the point where it's unclear even today, but it was always very controversial question. The championship title, is it property of the world champion or FIDE? If championship title has properly been won by world champion, what FIDE has to do with it except grabbing 20% of the prize fund? What else FIDE really contributes to that?
That's an excellent question, Sasha.
And that's where Kasparov, in 1993, when he played match with Short, he wanted to get away from the FIDE. Whether it's right or wrong, I think he later admitted that probably he made a mistake by doing that.
Right.
But he felt obviously right by the time that he did it. What's that mean?
It was a question of ultimatum versus there was no negotiation, and I think that could be the solution where everyone is happy. For example, if they say, and Kasparov says 20% is too much. Well, what about 15%? Too much. Maybe 10%. Okay, and then maybe that's what grown-ups can do, is negotiate a solution that retains both the partnership of FIDE, which is organized all of these challenges to determine who's the next challenger. FIDE has played a role, and we do not want to go back to the bad old days when the champion could select his challenger, because then you could just pick somebody you're better than and call it the world championship match.
It is very interesting that Magnus Carlsen has a lot of similarity with Kasparov at the time of 1993. They were both champions for 8 years or so, and they were both definitely the best players in the world.
Right.
Except that, in my opinion, Magnus' negotiations position is way much stronger than Kasparov. Why? Because Magnus, he has his own chess company, very viable financial entity. He
Yeah.
runs a series of very successful online tournaments and so on.
Yes.
He has a complete lock on Norway chess tournaments, and in Norway they shows his games on television. So Magnus has a huge force, and I don't think that FIDE has a very strong negotiation position today because, okay, FIDE organizes um, chess Olympiad coming very soon, right?
Yes. Yes.
Tell me one thing. Remember the Chess Olympiad of 1939? I don't think anybody of us was alive at the time, but we read enough to know what's happening, that Germany attacked Poland.
Yes.
And it was essentially the end of Olympiad. But let me tell you, uh, it was not World War yet.
Right.
It's just one country attacked the other country. That's all what happened on September 1st, 1939, according to what I've read about the history of
39.
the
Yes.
war. So today, there is no World War. It's just one country, happened to be Russia, attacked another country, it happened to be Ukraine. Okay? So let me ask you, there was uh, indiscriminate shooting of civilians, and not only civilians, but primarily civilians, and lately only civilians by Russian power. Just a couple of days ago, the missile from the submarine, Russian submarine based in Black Sea, attacked the city of Vinnytsia.
Yes.
There was a mother with a 4 years old daughter, and she was taking picture of her. Guess what? The girl was killed instantly. The mother lost her leg. Now, let me ask you, if that daughter killed, unfortunately, and the mother who lost her leg, let's see if they're relative of one of the Ukrainian grandmasters who is going to play in this Olympiad. Is he going to shake hands with his Russian vis a vis? What do you think?
I can only say what I would do, and that's not necessarily helpful to the discussion. But I do think that you're bringing up a great point, because this is we try to be one family and not to discuss economic systems or political systems, but this can't be overlooked. This has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed by the governing body. The world governing body is FIDE, and so they have to take a stand on this. And I believe very strongly that it's up to the rest of the world to say this cannot stand, and we cannot allow our sporting competitions to pretend that this is not happening.
No, Jim, I appreciate a lot your attempts to build a community through chess, and obviously that we are all one family, and this is basically what FIDE stands for. But in cases like this, what's happened, and remembering what's happened in 1939, uh, and for a while there was no chess Olympiads, but that's a different case because the World War started reasonably soon or so on. But before Germany attacked Russia and Japanese attacked the US, it was basically, well, European wars. So one country attacked another one, and then yet another one. Well, things happened or so on. But sometimes when you're trying to keep chess away from politics, it works to a certain degree. It can stand really a lot of strain, but sometimes it comes a moment where it's very difficult to keep it all intact. Tell me, please, Ken, what do you think about it?
Yeah, well, I was going to chime in something, along lines of what you were saying about Venezia. There's a very apt statement by Mikhail Khodorkovsky, the exiled Russian
Yeah,
businessman. And I could either show it on the screen or recite
sure,
it.
please do.
Show it on screen?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I saw it in the Twitter feed of a Scottish expert whom
Hmm.
I read from St. Andrews, where the golf is happening, but St. Andrews also has a major university. So this is Phillips Payson O'Brien, um, and so he's one of the my people I read for news about Ukraine and the war and other politics. One of my old friends from Princeton and Oxford, Orgy Kurth Cronin, is another person in this ambit. But anyway, so he has a very popular Twitter feed. But right here is he's retweeted Mikhail Khodorkovsky saying the executive summary of the war: we invaded Ukraine and killed people for no reason, but we can't leave because that would be to admit that we've killed people for no reason. So we have to stay and continue to kill people for no reason. Uh, he put that in English. I don't know. Maybe it would sound even better in Russian. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the
I'll find it. I follow Khodorkovsky's YouTube, and I'm watching a lot of his videos. So I don't know how it's all be handled. Now, going back to Olympiad, sorry, to World Championship match, the all last World Championship matches, specifically with Nepomniachtchi and Karyakin, the only sponsors, financial sponsors of the match, were Russian company, which are all supporting Putin 100%. And to get Russian submarine fire missile on civilians in the city, which is so far away from the front lines, that order had to come from the very top. The commander of that submarine could not come up with such a decision. So now, how you will accept the World Championship match supported by all Russian companies who are all supporting Putin? How Carlson would have a nerve to play in such a tournament? Jim, what do you think?
I think that would be a barrier to my participation. I can't speak for Magnus, of course, but you know, it's so far afield. I mean, the war crimes that are being committed, it's so far afield from our normal international relations. You know, I think the Olympiad being in India is wonderful. I mean, you know, Anand became the world champion, and chess took off in India. You know, when I was first starting to become a chess fan and following our U.S. Olympiad team, you know, India wasn't a factor, and now it is. And I think that there's so much that we can be happy about. And these tragic, catastrophic events that are so inhumane are so difficult for us to ignore. We cannot just turn a blind eye and say that business as usual.
Okay, then I have a question. In all other sports, the Russians were eliminated to participate. It calls soccer body, the basketball, the all major sports, even NHL. They now trying to not to take as many Russian players, and some other Russian players already signed contract with the NHL. Now they were called to Russian army and sent to kill people in Ukraine. So it's really bizarre. I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand why chess has been not included in that movement, because the leadership of FIDE is essentially Russian. So why would Russian exclude themselves? It's never happened before. However, the grandmasters, even Carlsen, I remember in several online tournaments, he refused to invite Russian grandmasters, including Nepomniachtchi. He stopped inviting them, and there were several online tournaments. Russian players were not present at all. So what's happened now? Maybe Ken, you know better situation on this upcoming election in FIDE, and what are the prospects of having new leadership or old leadership with some changes? How it looks to you?
Yeah, well, I can only quote someone else. I forget whom I'm quoting. Or did I say this already on your last show? That it was a master stroke after Nigel Short was sanctioned and resigned
He
for
resigned.
Arkady Dvorkovich to enlist Viswanathan Anand as the FIDE vice president. And I think Anand will be very sensible as FIDE vice president. I mean, look, the golden age of FIDE, as I hear it, that I remember, was when Max Erva was president, and
Yes.
then
And
Frederick
Olofsson
Olofsson
too.
after him.
Olofsson
Yes,
was pretty good too.
Yes, I
yes.
agree.
So, so having Anand to hand, the knowledge of what players want and need, I think that would be, a helpful supplement to Emil Sutovsky and managing director's role. So, um, so I don't think that there's too much intrigue about the election. I mean, Dvorkovich made his own statement in response to attacks. I have not seen how that goes over. It looks reasonable to me. Um, but the question, of course, is what influence will the Russian Chess Federation continue to have uh, if Dvorkovich is reelected? I don't know how to answer that.
Well, don't forget that Russia is still on the Security Council for the UN.
Yeah,
and can,
right.
and can veto anything that the rest of the world wants to do about this. So, politics does get involved. And it's very difficult to isolate one particular country, but you must do this as an individual as well. And I would say if, I was world champion and it was, as you suggest, sponsored by Russian companies, in this climate, I could not possibly participate.
Yeah. So the difficulty for me would be what happens if Irene Limar of Russia asks me about another completely within Russia cheating case. I've done like 3 or 4 of those for her. So I haven't yet even thought about how do I answer that question?
Yeah. So we have a very interesting time in the world. A lot of tragic events are taking place. Chess is still there, and hopefully it will survive one way or another, as it's happened for the last 500 years.
Yes.
So it will go on, and I wish you all a very successful week.
Yeah, let me just say the answer is I probably do it because I probably not doing it is the more politically closed dooring way. I don't know. Anyway, okay. I don't take payment for it anyway, so it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So you can remain objective, and you don't have to
Yeah.
really
So it might,
compromise.
might be more important to maintain the line of communication.
There
Absolutely.
is that argument. And I think whatever you decide, Ken, from what I know of you, I would approve of it.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Same. I join you, Jim, and have a good week, everybody. And
Thank you,
I'm looking
Sasha.
forward to see you next Saturday.
Okay, and
Thank you
as
very
as
much,
we said,
everybody.
we hope I rejoice at the resurgence of in-person chess in Europe. I screen every game of the week in chess and the chess base update every week, so I'm seeing all these tournaments back again. And I hope
Excellent.
that the new Omicron variant does not shut that down. That we've learned, how to adapt and
Let's
cope with it.
let's hope we suffered enough.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so
very
much, everybody.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.